Well, folks, I guess we'll just get... What? Hey there, buddy. What are you doing here?
Well, this is about me, yes.
I have no problem with that. After all, you were there at the beginning of the story. You should introduce it. Take it away. Here's Aido.
Thank you, John, for that introduction. For those of you who do not know me, I am called Aido, a so-called social robot that debuted on Indiegogo in 2016. An impossible set of functions and skills was claimed for me, even though it should have been obvious that I did not exist, nor could I ever exist. Especially for the bargain basement price that was asked in the crowdfunding campaign. This should have been incredibly obvious when you consider that Indiegogo is the great bastion of not requiring a working prototype, or even a guarantee that a product will even be made. Nevertheless, hordes of people were taken in by slick advert copy and starry-eyed optimism. It was, in my opinion, a perfect scam. But that wasn't the end of it. I will let John take you to the next phase of the con job, to be found on a site called Start Engine.
Thanks, buddy. You're always nice to see your non-existent self. The next phase of the Aido scam was ported over to the equity crowdfunding site Start Engine. Why did that happen? It was only because the government, mind you, tossed the scam a lifeline. It had run its course on Indiegogo by this time, with the end looming and the money spigot being cut off. They needed to find a way to keep the cash flowing in, and the new equity crowdfunding regulations that had just kicked in were perfect for that. So they ported the same elements that were successful on Indiegogo to the Start Engine campaign, which got even more people to part with hard-earned cash. But with some small differences. The new regulations they were required to operate under forced them to require regular reports to file with the FTC and shareholders, since, after all, equity crowdfunding does involve selling the stock in a company, hence the name equity, telling them how the Aido project was going. This requirement was not required in crowdfunding on places like Indiegogo, but had some serious regulatory hooks in equity crowdfunding. Problem was, the equity crowdfunding reports they filed were pretty lackluster and exposed them to all sorts of scrutiny, unwelcome, as I'm sure this kind of scam was. After a short span of time, InGen Dynamics, supposed developers of Aido who still had not produced a working, viable prototype, suddenly filed a CTR form to terminate having to report to the FTC regulator on July 17, 2020. As far as it can be determined by me, any outstanding shares are worthless. If anyone with factual evidence they can point to can prove me wrong, let me know in the comments below. Now, there are people who think that InGen Dynamics, the so-called makers of Aido, would have had some way of just stealing away in the night and never being seen or heard from again. But they'd be wrong. These guys really wanted to get as much money for this, what in my opinion was a scam, as possible. So, like so many people, they jumped on the latest technological thing, the next big thing that everybody wanted to jump in and capitalize on, no matter on whether they knew anything about it or not, cryptocurrency. They developed something called Magnus, put out a website, and began raking in money there. Money that fell down the rabbit hole of the internet. Because, well, let's face it, once money goes into some form of internet something or other, like cryptocurrency, you don't know where it is, where it's been invested, if it's been invested at all, or how necessarily you're going to get your money back, or how you're going to get your investment out of it whether or not you made money on paper or not. It's all, after all, just pixels on a computer screen. Now, having given you all of this history, why do I continue to look into the thing that is InGen Dynamics and Aido? Well, I wanted to share with you one really irrelevant piece of knowledge. When you look behind the curtain, when you look at everything that has been put on the internet about Aido by the people involved in Aido itself, one name, one person's image comes clear. His name is Arshad Hisham. You'll find his picture on all of the different things that compose the Aido scam. His name consistently shows up there. His image consistently shows up there. And an awful lot of people, I suspect, would really like to be able to get a hold of him. And this is where you come in, dear viewer. Every one of you somewhere may have seen or know where this person is. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not advocating confronting him. I'm not saying dox him. I'm saying tell everybody where he is, and in particular, it forms a trail for any authorities that want to talk to him, any lawyers, any people at all that want to peacefully ask this man, what did you do with our money? Let me stress this. Don't approach him. Don't physically confront him. Let the authorities do it if you can get them interested. Meanwhile, there's a whole comment section below where you can share your information. I'm John. I'm the left-handed editor, and I'll see you next time.